going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 18 of the Proven Knowledge Podcast. This is the Creators Series. Today I talked with a fellow Ohio artist. She's out of Dayton, Ohio. Her name is Mariah J. She's a poet, singer, songwriter. She makes all types of amazing content and everything. I discovered her on Instagram probably December of 2019. She had just dropped her first EP, so I checked it out, really liked her style and everything. And then I got in contact with her probably in June about being on the show. So we finally made it happen today. We talked about if she would ever go to a label or anything like that, and she kind of gave a really great detailed explanation about how she views really just artistry in the world and how people tend to forget the value that artists bring to the table when it comes to, you know, is an artist going to get paid for this project? Are they not going to get paid what they deserve? And just all the kind of crazy layers that go into being an artist, specifically in music. She talked about how she's kind of assembling a team together of producers and videographers and whatnot to create her first album that she's working on. She said it's not going to be out till next year, most likely, but I can tell that she's really trying to craft that to be the best it can be and everything. And I think she said in the episode that she's going to be dropping songs every week for a certain amount of time, and I think she already started that, so I'll have to go check that out. But I was just really happy to get her on the show today after we've been talking for a few months back and forth. So without further ado, let's get into the episode. Okay, welcome everyone to episode number 18 of the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today's guest is not too far from my neck of the woods. She's in Dayton, Ohio. She's a poet, she's a singer, songwriter, all-around really dope artist. I discovered her last year when she dropped her first EP. Her name is Mariah J. How are you doing today, Mariah?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here with you.
And I'm excited to have you on the show today. So we pretty much start every episode out with just kind of give a little bit of information on how long you've been doing music, kind of how you got started, and kind of what you're looking to get out of your music career.
I got started, I've been singing for basically all of my life. So, I was, singing in the church choir, and I've always been an artist as well. Dance was my first love, but, singing was something that I always, would just ground myself in, just on my own, even in my room as a little girl. And I come from a very creative family as well. So my father, Dayton being the birthplace of funk music, it was home to a lot of local bands, and so my dad was one of those, local bands who were doing like a lot of shows, and he basically turned our entire basement into, his rehearsal studio, and I remember just always like sitting on the steps or even just being in my room because, our house, it was a nice-sized house, but we could definitely hear his practice throughout the entire house. So whether I was sitting on the basement steps or in my room, I was always listening to his rehearsals, always listening to just like him directing the people. And I definitely come from, a very creative and musical family, and I'm grateful for that. I've been singing, like I said, since I was basically like 7. And I think I know what I'm looking to get out of my career is really teaching the world, just how they can be in better relationship with themselves, with the earth. So I know that that's like my role when it comes to music, when it comes to songwriting and singing and sound, is to really use my voice to be a teacher. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And like, I know just from hearing like the first project you put out, when I heard it last year, I kind of like connected to like your Instagram and everything, and I loved like your aesthetic and like the message you were spreading in the music and everything. And you saying that, you've had such a long, like almost your entire life has been exposed to like creativity and musicians and things like that. I think that's probably helped you immensely just to be able to like prepare yourself for now, you know what I mean? And begin that journey as an artist. So that's awesome to hear.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, kind of a follow up question that I've kind of been starting off every episode with is just I know this year has been, crazy for a lot of people. There's been so much going on in the world. How have you been able to kind of manage with your own life what's been going on there? Whatever you feel comfortable sharing, obviously. Has it affected you negatively, positively? Have you been able to develop a new skill of some sort this year, or how's that been working for you?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Yeah, this year has been a lot, to say the least. And it's also been very beautiful. It has really grounded me in my purpose as a singer, songwriter, poet, overall just creative. It's almost like there was definitely, once the pandemic definitely like started, there was a moment where I was kind of just like stuck and I had to just sit with the fact that we're in a pandemic. And so I wasn't really like writing much. I was still journaling, but I wasn't really writing poetry for real or anything like that. And then maybe like a month after the pandemic hit, I ended up getting a spiritual advisor. And her name is Keisha. And yeah, shout out to Keisha. Follow her on Instagram at Sun Fables. She's amazing. But she is also a singer, songwriter. She's currently living out in Belize. And she is basically the one who really like catapulted this like intense healing journey for me. And something she was always telling me, it's like you need to be writing, you need to be getting into the music, like you need to be singing while I'm over here trying to do all these other things because I had a full-time job at the time. And I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do like, I'm into the social justice movement world. And so like, I'm trying to do all this organizing instead of doing like what my purpose really was. So I feel like this year has grounded me immensely, and has made me get very clear on my role in society, my role as an artist. And I would definitely consider myself an artist disruptor because I use my music to teach truth. This year has honestly been super beautiful. I can't necessarily say it's been negative. Like I've definitely been through a lot of hard things and experiences. Like I just like walked away from my 5-year relationship. I also like lost my job. So this year made me become the artist that I'm meant to be. So shout out to 2020 because it's definitely taking me somewhere. So
yeah, I've heard like so many different responses to the question of kind of just like because everyone's been dealing with so many different things. You know what I mean? Like we've just had things kind of thrown at us out of nowhere. I talked to a producer the other day named Mark Bird, and I asked him the same question. He said it was kind of interesting. During the pandemic, he didn't feel like he needed to create a whole lot. And then when a lot of like the social injustice things started coming up around June and whatnot, he felt so inspired by that he decided he was just going to like channel all his creative energy into that. And he's found that much more productive because he feels like he can actually share something very important through his music and just let his audience know how he's feeling about the whole thing. So I thought that was very interesting as well. And it kind of sounds like a little bit of that is creeping into what you're doing as well. Like you want to use your music to teach people exactly what your message is and everything. So that's very important, and that's great to hear that you feel that way. So, so I know you've only dropped one project so far. Do you have anyone that's been kind of helping you out, like an engineer or like graphic designers or anyone, or have you kind of been doing most of this yourself so far as music goes?
Yeah, so the support that I had for my first project, shout out to Skyline 909. He was the engineer for that project, as well as Naisha Simon from NSA Firm. I hope I said that right, but she was doing a lot of like the PR work. And also shout out to Nicole for doing a lot of my like graphic design, and Lovia for actually taking the album cover. But that was the team for that. Right now, I am, working to get, like I said, I'm getting like a lot clearer on like who I want to build with, and actually like build really solid relationships with this team. So I definitely want to bring back Skyline 909 and Niaja and Nicole, and then some other folks who I'm gonna be, bringing in because I'm getting ready to start working on the album. So I'm excited for that. And I'm bringing in a really cool musician producer by the name of Nathan Timpton. He goes, I think his artist name is Junior Astronaut. So look him up. He's really dope. But I'm having him basically come in and be like one of the main producers for this new project that I'm working on. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
Nice. Well, I'm looking forward to the album because, like I said, the EP was just incredible. So the album's probably going to be even more crazy.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Yes. Do you ever have like any issues when you're creating music as far as like writer's block? Have you ever experienced writer's block, or is there anything that has kind of stayed in the way of like creativity when it comes to just kind of getting the ideas out?
That's a good question. I think my biggest like writer's block is me, myself. Like sometimes I can get in my own way, and this year too has been teaching me how to like just get out of my own way and to like also stop blocking my blessings and to stop doubting myself so much. And I think that's where my writer's block comes from. It comes from, this worry, this anxiety, this doubt that I used to have and hold so tightly onto. And not so much anymore. I've gotten out of that. But I think even with just like diving deeper into my craft and trying to just develop my skill of songwriting through just like courses that I found online has really helped remove writer's block at any moment. I have so many like different exercises, and eventually I want to teach a workshop, but I have a lot of different exercises that I use to really ground myself, really, I talk about spirit a lot, to really like be a vessel for spirit, a vessel for God, whoever you deem creator, whoever you deem a higher power. Like I, make myself a conduit for that energy to channel through me so that I can then create. So writer's block actually has not been, for a good part of this year, hasn't been a huge issue for me. I feel like there's inspiration literally everywhere. And I've been learning that through, the courses that I've been taking. I've been able to like almost look at the world through a different set of eyes. And so that's like what I mean by there's inspiration everywhere. Like I can find inspiration anywhere. So I'm grateful for that, for sure.
I know, like, too, like, I feel, I'm not, like, a writer or, like, an artist or anything, but I feel like the best writing and the best inspiration just comes from experiences, like, life experiences, like what you just said. And how many more life experiences do you need than, like, what's been happening this year to everyone, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of inspiration in that. And then, too, I think people forget that you shouldn't really force creativity, you know what I mean? You should just let it come to you. If you're just sitting there trying to, like, beat a dead horse, if I may, like, you're not going to get anything out of that. It's just going to be, none of it's going to come out the way you want, and people that hear it probably aren't going to like how it comes out anyway. So I feel like if you just let that energy come to you and not just freaking just force everything out of you, it'll be so much better. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You have to create from what you know. I think that's where the most honest art comes from, is from experience, from the lessons that you've learned, from actually, analyzing the world around you. So yeah, absolutely.
So as far as your career so far, have you been given any advice that you've kind of taken and ran with that has been very helpful to you from, I don't know, a family member or someone close to you? What do you think is the best piece of career advice you have that you've been given so far?
Wow. I think that's a hard one. That is really hard. I would say that, like, no one is going to believe in you more than yourself. And I've, like, I mentioned before, like the worry and anxiety and doubt that I used to like really deal with came from this place of almost feeling inadequate in my skill sets. And it's like, no, like, because if I don't believe that, you know, I can be the best at singing and songwriting as I can be, then I won't. I mean, it just won't be true. So I think it's just like feeding myself affirmations, and I definitely learned this from my spiritual advisor, Keisha. She's just really teaching me how to love myself first before anything else, anybody else. Like, I have to love me. I have to believe in me. I have to feed myself the right words, the right food, you know, in order to think clearly about, you know, where I'm trying to go. So
I feel like that's just great life advice, too. Like, that applies to anything, really. You know, like other relationships, when you're in relationships with other people, you know, I think people forget you have to have a good relationship with yourself first before you can make it work with someone else. You know what I mean? And, like, art is the same way. Like, you're never going to be able to go anywhere in music or any other form of art if you don't believe in it yourself. You have to have that self-belief and be like, man, my stuff is really good. And even if you have to work through that, if it takes some years to get really good at it, you just got to keep going. And there's going to be days, you know, where you feel like, you know, this isn't that great or I'm not that good. But, like, I feel like everyone has felt that way at some point or another. You just have to figure out how to get through it in the right way. So, and the fact that you have someone, too, that, like, is helping you out with that, that's very important. I haven't heard anyone that has had someone else, kind of like a coach, be able to give that advice as well. So that's awesome.
yeah. Yes, I recommend that for everyone in the world. A therapist, spiritual advisor, somebody.
Someone to kind of just vent to when you need to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. So who do you think have been your biggest inspirations in music that kind of made you say, I want to be an artist?
This might sound cliche, but I think it was probably like it's between Beyoncé, because I really stand her, just overall performer, entertainer, vocalist, amazing. I would say, man, it probably was my dad. Like, I remember the very first, I would say Janet Jackson, because the very first album that I really got into, I think I was like 6. So you can imagine this 6-year-old listening to All For You, which is an album by Janet Jackson that came out in 2001. But he gave me that album. He was like, go learn All For You, the song. And I'm like, okay, I guess. And so I play it, and you know that Janet Jackson's, like, register is very high. She's very, like, high octave. And I feel like that moment of just, like, trying to sit and almost, like, mimic her voice, like, Janet Jackson was definitely a huge influence on me as a young artist. Yeah, it's interesting to say that because that album is all over the place. And she talks about some grown woman stuff. So it's like this 6-year-old is over here heavily influenced by Janet Jackson, Beyonce. And then I also would say like a lot of, I can't remember the name of this choir, but just gospel choirs are a heavy influence on my music as well. I am a huge, like, I love sections, so like soprano, alto, tenor, like I love that so much, that whole dynamic of like unified voices, and that has definitely inspired me to really like work on training my voice to be of a large range. So yeah, I would definitely say it's Janet, Beyonce, gospel choirs, and my dad. Yeah.
Well, Janet and Beyonce are top tier, so I don't think there's anything cliche about that, to be honest. Like that's like who you gotta look up to regardless, I think, as like just an artist in general. So but that about the choir thing, that's pretty interesting. I've never heard anyone say that, but like I feel like if you're trying to get that soulful like energy out, that's like perfect to like look at choirs and how the dynamics are and everything and just kind of put that with your own music. So that's very interesting. Is there anyone other than that that you would say is kind of a dream collaboration for you?
Ooh, first person that came to mind was SZA because um, almost feel like me and SZA are friends, but we're not. But I followed SZA since she first started putting out music. So I think that was like maybe like junior, sophomore year for me of high school, and I was able to just like follow her journey as an artist, and I feel like we are on like a similar path. Of course, I'm behind, but like I really love her. I really love how she's grown as a vocalist as well. Like her voice has definitely developed phenomenally. I would say SZA. I would definitely say Kendrick Lamar. I think I could also just say the entire TDE crew, like Absol,
Schoolboy.
I think Schoolboy's with
Yeah.
them. Schoolboy,
Yep.
Isaiah Rashad, yes.
Yep.
J Rock. I love all of them. So I'm like, I would love to just be a part of that squad. And who else would be a dream collaboration? Obviously Beyonce. Like, I love Beyonce so much. And that's a good question. I'm gonna have to like chew on that one for real. But SZA was definitely top tier, and TDE folks. So.
I still gotta check out. I still gotta check out her new song that she came out with last week because I've been hearing that was a really dope song. It's the one with Ty Dolla $ign, I think. I gotta hear it still.
And yes, it's different. It's a vibe. It's a vibe.
And then I'm still waiting on this Kendrick album, but it looks like he's kind of getting it put together. So I think that'll be coming soon. But that would be awesome. Like I see how you could probably fit in there because TDE to me has like a very like wide range of artists. You know what I mean? Like they're not afraid to take different artists on, and even like the rappers. Like to me, like Absol gives a totally different energy than like Schoolboy Q. You know what I mean? But they all like when they come together on records, they just sound really dope together. So that would be incredible.
For sure. Yeah.
So what do you think is the best part about collaboration, whether it's with a producer, another artist? What do you think you get out of collaborating with other people?
Oh, man, I think the relationship that you build, making sure that you're actually building a relationship and that it's not, just transactional work. I'm the type of person to check in with people before any kind of meeting starts. I'm like, okay, how are you? And then how are you really doing? Because we're people, we're human. And we go through a lot of the same things. So why not be, there together? But I think that's like one of my favorite things about that is just learning new people and learning how, people work. And then the journey. I love the process, I think, more than the actual end product, because you can have one idea and then once y'all start actually, like, doing it and creating together, and then it just ends up transforming into something even more rich because it's not coming from one person, but it's coming from like a collective or a couple people or whatever. But I think the journey is probably one of my favorite things about collaboration as well.
I think too what you just said is so important because you have to really know the person before you even begin the music. You know what I mean? Like it could be all wrong if you don't have any chemistry together. Like it's just not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out if you're not on the same page that way. And two, it's like as long as there's no egos or anything involved, I think that you should always kind of be bouncing ideas off of each other and just kind of seeing what everyone wants. And then if you land like in the middle ground, you're going to get the best result anyway. So I've heard that before many times. It's just like the best part of collaborating is really just kind of bringing the best of everyone to the table and just getting an even better product than what you would have had to begin with. So, um,
Yeah.
so is there anything as far as when you make music, managing that with your personal life and everything else you have going on, has there been any issues with time management for you, or do you have kind of like a plan as far as how you want to execute everything within a day or a week?
Yeah, I've been challenged with, um, my time management and a bit of my discipline. It's gotten a lot better, especially with Keisha helping me out with that. But um, it's funny that you asked that because I actually just wrote down on Monday, my like almost like dream schedule of like how I would want my days to go. And now that I'm reflecting on it, I feel like I need to go revise it because it may actually not be my dream schedule. I may have actually still been playing small, but yeah, like I'm having to really work through honoring myself fully as a singer and songwriter. And in some moments I find myself trying to like go back to like the work that I used to do because it's safe and because, it'll bring in money faster or all those things, right? But like I'm having to learn how to trust myself a lot deeper than ever before. And it's hard. It's really hard. I've been actually struggling with time management. And so I'm actually challenging myself. I actually started this challenge last week where I'm going to be releasing one song a week to really get myself disciplined on spending time on writing and making music and recording and just really like full time, like this is it, like this is it. So yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that because I needed to get that out. I needed to tell myself like, nah, you need to just be out here doing what God called you to do. So yeah.
Yep. I know like the writing things down thing, I didn't take that seriously until a couple years ago when I started doing it, and I didn't think it was going to work. And then ever since then, I've had like a weekly, like every day I'm going to do this. I'm going to like do this on social media. I'm going to get this done this week. And like it helps so much because it actually it holds yourself in check. You know what I mean? Like I think it's easy, especially in like music and art. We think that it's not like a job. We don't want like schedule. We don't want to deal with all that. But like it teaches you the self-discipline, you know what I mean? Like you're able to look at that and be like, I got to get that done. It's on paper now, so I have to accomplish this goal that I set for myself. So that's like a huge thing right there. And I think a lot of people probably don't understand that when you first get started out, but it definitely helps you stay sane, honestly. Like you'll go crazy if you have all these things you got to do and you don't even know how to begin doing them. So
yeah.
But that's
yeah.
And like everyone has a different workload too. So if you got a lot, you better
Right.
write some stuff down at least or do something. But that's
Yeah.
good to hear that.
So necessary.
That's good to hear that you're kind of trying to work through that in your own way. So I know you make a lot of art, like poetry, like music. How important do you think it is to maintain ownership of everything you have as far as, let's just say for music, for example, like I assume you're an independent artist, so how important do you think it is to have that full creative control and not have kind of like a secondary hand in what your decision making is for that?
Yeah, I'm definitely an independent artist right now, and I'm actually still like learning about that whole world of like the music industry. But I mean, from what I've learned, I know that certain people aren't getting full ownership of just like their masters and things like that. And I was just like, I can't imagine. Like I personally just cannot imagine to not be able to do what it is I want to do with my music, create the way that I want to create. That just also just sounds like, this might be deep, but this sounds like another form of like control. And we have a lot of that already, enough in the world, even in our country when I think about our government. But it's just like, yeah, like freedom. I'm all about freedom. I'm all about do what you want, do what makes you happy what pleases you. And so, yeah, that's a big deal for me, definitely. I was actually just thinking about this probably a couple of days ago, thinking just like, okay, well, what if, someone wanted to sign you? What would you need and what would you be requiring or requesting? Um, and I think that artists deserve to be given resources because of just who we are and what we contribute to society. I think that we are, historically, when I think about artists, all the way back to the beginning of time, artists have always been in a very precarious position, right? They've never actually had like a solid foundation in society. However, they've made some of the biggest contributions, such as like artists, philosophers, things like that, like artisans, creatives, have always been the ones, I think, to like elevate consciousness. And so if that is our role, if that's what we're supposed to be doing, then we need to be taken care of, like, quite frankly. So I really look at it from that place of just like, we deserve as artists, as creatives, access to resources, access to just freedom to do what it is that we need to do so that we can get our art out. And yeah, because I think also too when you think about like music labels and any artist of any medium, art as a commodity is weird to me. Art and I've compared that to like art as a commodity compared to art as a gift. And I want to be in the realm of art as a gift. And sometimes art as a gift, you just give your art away. Sometimes you actually don't get paid for it. Maybe you just give that piece of art to your mom, right? So and I know that can sound weird even with just like how our world is. It's very capitalistic. It's very just like money oriented. But that's because there's a group of people who have, a large hand in a lot of these resources. But there's enough for all of us to win, to succeed, and to thrive. And it's just, I think, to kind of land the plane, because I've said a lot, I just think that things are definitely going to have to shift when it comes to these like big music label and corporations and working with artists. They actually need to listen to artists more. And so for me, it's like I see the benefit of a music label, and then I'm also like, nah. I'm also like, I'd rather have full control. I'd rather create my team and work with them and things like that and figure out the rest. And get maybe like funded or something. I don't know. But yeah. So.
Well, that was all perfectly said. Like, I agree with pretty much everything you just said. And like I said, I was talking to Mark Bird the other day, and we had a similar conversation, kind of how it related to producers, but it really relates to everyone. He's like, no matter what level you're on of success, you've always dealt with that type of issue. Like, so-and-so doesn't want to pay you, so-and-so doesn't really believe in the value that you bring to the table, you know what I mean? So, like, what he said is basically you need to make sure you demand what you want and know what you want out of every situation. Like, if they're calling upon you for your service, then they should understand that you have value on yourself, and they should have the same amount of value on you as well to make it work. And I think, like, the power we have now is just, like, you should be able to have that or really just go make your own thing, because if you do it yourself, you're going to have a much better time of, maneuvering it the way you want to maneuver it and everything. And, like, there's a lot of people that are signed to music labels that are in great situations and it worked out for them and everything. But I think you just have to know what you want as an artist yourself and what you're looking to get out of it, and just know that you have more value than a lot of people are going to give you credit for up front, especially if they're like, oh, well, this artist is young, they don't know any better, we can take advantage of them here in this situation. But, like, usually you should just do as much research, I think, as possible and just kind of know what you're dealing with every time. But it's just so crazy. There's just so many layers to it. I think I've learned more in the last 2 years than I ever really wanted to know, but you have to know that stuff. You know what I mean? So, but it is so wild, and like unless there's concrete rules in place, I don't think like there's ever gonna be like a set way to do things. I think you just have to use your best judgment. So, but
Yep. Yep.
it's just so crazy. I hope things get better in the future, but it's going to take a lot of people kind of having this conversation to make it work. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
um,
Yep.
so only got a few more questions for you, and then we'll wrap it up. If you could go back 10 years ago and kind of just tell yourself anything, maybe change something, or maybe not change anything, what do you think you would do?
You said 10 years ago.
Yep.
What am I? 26. So that's what, 16. Wow. Oh. Would I change anything? Man, I try not to live in a space of just like regret ever. Um. I don't think I would change anything. I think I was right where I was supposed to be. That was also about the time where my dad passed away. So I think I was in a very interesting place 10 years ago. Um, Man, I think I would have talked kinder to myself probably during that time. If I could change anything, it would just be just trying to speak more life into myself, especially around my art. But even at that time, I was heavily involved in dance, so that was like my primary art form. I was still singing at church, but yeah, just being kinder to myself, and maybe even like I wish I actually probably was writing more during that time, like actually developing my craft of songwriting. I've always been a writer, but I was not doing it as often. So yeah.
So if we could flip it then, and we could go 10 years from now, where do you think you want to be in your career or in life in general?
One, out of this country. I want to be on an island somewhere. Please take me to an island. But yeah, no, I really want to. I want to be a full-time singer, songwriter, making music, making videos, even doing workshops to help develop other songwriters and singers. And I even think then too, like I actually want a family by that time as well. And yeah, like I really just want to be flourishing in my music. I want the world to know me by then, for sure. The entire world will know me by at least 10 years. So that's where I want to be.
Awesome. So I know you said you're working on the album. Do you have like a date for that? Do you have maybe a single coming out soon? Like what projects can we expect from you coming up?
So I don't have a date for it. It's in the very beginning stages right now. So yeah, I don't have a date, but it's definitely going to be next year when it comes out. And as far as singles go, I don't know. I might have a single. I might. I just might. I've been working on some music, so we'll see.
Awesome. And where can everyone find you on social media? I know you're on Instagram. Are you on anything else?
Yes. Same name on Instagram, Twitter. I am _Mariah _J. And I'm also on SoundCloud. Just look me up as Mariah J. Also have a Facebook artist page as well under Mariah J. J, just the letter. And I'm on am I on anything else? I think that's it. Yeah. That's where you can find me. Oh, you can also find me on all the streaming platforms as well under Mariah J. So.
And any final words of wisdom today, Mariah?
Ooh, that's big. I would say go out into the world grounded in your most allow that to be what drives you, what moves you, inner peace and heart-centered work. So, yeah.
Well, Mariah, I appreciate it once again. Like, thank you for reaching out and everything. And I know you're not too far from me here in Ohio, so hopefully we can do this again one day, maybe in person or something. I'm looking forward to your album. I'm looking forward to everything you got going. I can tell you care about your creativity so much, and it really means a lot to get you on the show to share your story here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you reaching out. This was really cool. And, yeah, I'm grateful to be able to share space with you. So.
Yes. Thanks, guys, for listening today. That was episode 18 of the Creator Series. Feel free to hit that support button on wherever you're listening if you want to donate any type of funds. Like I said, it'll all go to furthering, every episode as we go along here. Hopefully getting you guys more and more great guests and content. And until next week, we'll see you then.